Hello and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, just welcome. My name is Katie and today we are starting my reading vlog for Tower of Dawn by Sarah J Maas. So reading vlogs slash reaction vlogs have kind of become a tradition on my channel for all Sarah J Maas books. I know I did one for A Court of Wings and Ruin, for Empire of Storms, and Queen of Shadows, and you guys seem to like them and I really enjoy making them, so I definitely wanted to do one for this book, which I have been putting off for almost a year now, but I have decided it's finally time to read it. So before we get into the vlog portion of this video, if you're unfamiliar with these kind of vlogs, they are totally full of spoilers because I'm going to be talking about the book as I read it. So if you haven't read this series, especially if you haven't read Tower of Dawn, you're gonna get spoiled. So I wouldn't recommend watching this video if you haven't already read the book. Also, little disclaimer, the reason why I've put off reading this book so long and why I'm so skeptical going into it is this book centers on the character Chaol Westfall in this series, who happens to be my least favorite character in this series. I have talked about this in several videos in the past that I kind of hate his guts. I think I read Empire of Storms like exactly a year ago actually. And since then my hatred for Chaol has sort of like fizzled out just because I haven't read these books in so long. But still, the idea of reading a book entirely about him is not appealing to me. Originally this was supposed to be just a companion novel that you could read if you wanted to, but then everyone informed me that you have to read this to read the next book in the series because they like introduce new plot lines and there's important information that you need to know. So it went from this extra book about Chaol that I wasn't gonna touch to a mandatory book about Chaol that I have to read, and I'm a little irked by that, but it's fine. I'm trying really hard to go into this book with an open mind, and I have high hopes for it because a lot of you guys have commented on past videos saying that you also don't like Chaol, but you were pleasantly surprised by this book and you ended up loving it. And I'm really hoping that's gonna be my experience. I guess we will see. When I'm filming this first clip, I have started the book already. I'm like halfway through chapter 4, so I'm still like really close to the beginning, and we're just gonna have to see. But I thought I would film my reading experience so you guys can follow me on this journey, and I guess this will be the ultimate test to see if I will be converted to a Chaol lover. I really highly doubt that, but we shall see. So let's just get straight into the vlog. My first impression with this book is that I don't remember anything. I don't remember any of these characters actually. Like Nesrin, don't remember. There's also a lot of new characters getting introduced, so kind of like juggling that and also not remembering characters is a little bit difficult. I'm hoping I adapt quickly, but I'm also hesitantly excited about these new characters because every time a new character is introduced in these series, I don't like it at first, but then I end up really liking the new character. Like when Manon was first introduced, I was like, who the hell is this Manon? Like, I don't care about her storyline, and now she's like my favorite character in the series. So I'm hoping that I'm gonna like these new characters. The only thing I really remember from Empire of Storms is the ending, so I'm hoping I will be able to kind of scrape by without rereading it because I'm not gonna do that. Okay, so this is definitely off to a slow start. I am struggling a little bit. It's been a while since I've read a Sarah J Maas book, and just like the way that she over describes some things, like I just read like a page-long description of the way that air ventilates through this structure that they're in, all just to convey the idea that the breeze in the room was cooling something off. But instead of just saying the breeze like cooled him off, the air comes in this way and then it goes this and then it goes around this and it comes through, like, why? That was so unnecessary. So I'm about 90 pages in and nothing's happened so far. We do have a Sorcia 2.0 coming up here. Her name is spelled with a Y, but the audiobook is pronouncing it as Irene, which is kind of, I don't know how that works. But like, you can tell this bitch, her only function is to cause more drama here, but like, I didn't like the first Sorcia. I don't like this Sorcia. I'm probably going to refer to her as Sorcia 2.0 for this entire book. But mostly I'm annoyed that I'm almost 100 pages into this book and nothing has happened yet. Basically, the only thing that's going down is this healer, aka Sorcia 2.0, has like looked over Chaol and they're trying to get her to heal him. But like, she's not even the top healer. Like, she's dealt with an injury similar to his before, so I get why they would want her to look at him. But like, don't you think like the top healer would be capable of doing this as well? So like, why are we pushing this girl who clearly doesn't want to help to do this? Like, someone else could do this. Okay, the whole thing about the healer like inspecting Chaol's injury and like finding dark magic like still inside of his body freaks me out, and it just reminds me of Dorian and the collar and everything, and I don't like this. I don't like this at all. Also, I just read the scene where Irene is in the library and she's like walking out and it's like late and she hears someone walking in the stack right next to her and like running their hands along the books, and she finds the dead girl. Oh my god, that scene was really well done. It was like, oh, I kind of forgot about the whole like Vogue, I like can't even remember how you say it, storyline, because I've been reading the A Court of Thorns and Roses series instead of the Throne of Glass series lately, so I kind of forgot about all of that going on. But yeah, I was complaining about how this book was moving slowly, but I feel like it's picked up a little bit. I'm at chapter 11, so I'm about that far into it. I'm a little more satisfied because things are happening now, so it's all good. I'm still not a fan of Chaol. Just gonna throw that out there. I don't know if what she's building up to is a romance between Chaol and Irene, and if that is what's happening, I don't care about that. It's not even that I'm like that annoyed. I'm just bored. Nothing has happened really. There was like one good scene and that's it. Like, is this entire book just going to be him getting healed? Because I already know he's gonna get healed at the end, like obviously. And if I have to read 700 pages just to get to that point, I'm not gonna be happy. Okay, so you would think after pissing off like every Chaol fan, Sarah J Maas would use this book to like redeem him. But now we are back to this like alpha male bullshit, which is the reason why I didn't like him in the first place. He's like bossing his healer around. Like, I can't. It makes me so angry. He's like so arrogant and like basically mansplaining everything and like being super territorial and like bossing people around, and he just acts like a barbarian, and this is why I don't like him. He drives me insane. That is to say, I have pretty much decided that this book is not going to change my mind about Chaol. Why is everything in this series suddenly so sexual? So I was listening to the audiobook while I was on the treadmill at the gym, and it was like all I could do not to make this face of disgust in this like really crowded room. This is like a pet peeve of mine in books. I just don't understand. Okay, so Chaol and Nazrin are together. They've both like established this. It's not just like they're together without saying so. Like, they have said that they are together. And Irene walks in on them in bed one morning and he gets like all embarrassed and like assures her like, no, nothing happened. I'm just like, you are with her. Why are you having this like budding romance with someone else? It's basically like cheating, and we're supposed to like ship this and like be for this relationship. It's just so unfair. I don't like it. I don't like where this is going. The thing about the spiders, also a little weird. Just like the existence of the spiders in general, I think is weird. It just like reminds me of Chamber of Secrets. Okay, so I am almost 400 pages into this book, and I'm actually enjoying it more than I was expecting to. Like, I'm not hating it. I'm not hating every second. However, I don't think it's like really that necessary, and so the fact that it's being called like the 6th book in this series just doesn't really make sense, because there's not enough that's important to be happening that this is like a mandatory book. Because like I said, I'm 400 pages in and I can sum up what's happened in this book in like one sentence. I'm like thinking back, I'm like, what has happened in these 400 pages that has like filled 400 pages worth? We have like a little bit of progress on healing Chaol. We have the Vogue hunting Irene, and we have this budding relationship with Nesta and the prince dude that she went on this journey with. We've learned a little bit about the spiders, but other than that, like, nothing's happening. And we've learned that the daughter, one of the princesses, died and the family is grieving, which like I don't even know if that's going to be important later in the series. But my point is, like, these are all facts that I feel like could have been included in the next book. Like, they didn't need a book of their own. To be fair, I'm not done with the book, but it's very slow moving and just not enough has happened to keep me interested. Like, 400 pages is a long time for that little to have happened, especially when you don't love the characters that much. Like, my hatred for Chaol isn't as strong in this book as it has been in previous books, but I'm still not like on his side or rooting for him or really that interested in him. And quite frankly, I still don't remember a single thing about Nazrin from like the previous books. All I have is like what's happened in this book, and she's like fine, but I'm just kind of indifferent to it. Also, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I feel like this is becoming a trend in every like recent released Sarah J Maas book that I've read, but I feel like they all have just really similar scenes and similar plot points and similar character arcs. Like, I feel like I have read this book before, just in like a different form. It's getting so repetitive. I don't know if that makes any sense. Let me know if you guys like agree with that, or if you're like getting that sense, if you get that feeling. If Chaol is described as rippling with muscle, one more time, I swear. I felt more emotions for Kadara than any human character so far in this book. So I have about this much left. I'm on page 478. And here's where I stand with the characters right now. I have decided that I like Nesrin, and I'm actually very thankful that her like point of view and this little separate branched off storyline is happening, because I'm a lot more interested in this than I was in what was happening before. And I've decided that just like as a person, I don't have a problem with Irene. I actually kind of feel for her. She seems like a cool person and whatnot, but I just can't like her and Chaol. It just like doesn't sit well with me. I just don't like it. Probably because I still just like don't like Chaol. So I was thinking about it, and I also just don't like that this had to turn into like a romantic relationship. I feel like that's how every single relationship in this series ends up. Like every single character is paired up with another character. It always ends up being a relationship. Like, why couldn't this just be like a nice friendship? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's almost too perfect. Like every character gets all like matchy with another character every single time. Okay, so these things that they're finding in the caves, the like drawings and stuff, and how they found out that the Fae were buried here, it really just feels like the only function of all of these little adventures is to build up backstory and world building for this series, which doesn't need its own book just to do that. Literally all this is turned into is like sexual tension between Irene and Chaol. Although I will say that scene where they push the princess in the water, like I have a pretty good visual of that, and that was pretty funny. And it is kind of interesting hearing Chaol talk about Aelin and kind of what went down between them and her getting together with Rowan. Okay, so finally I am like super intrigued by the story. It's only taken like 500 pages, but I'm like super into what's happening right now. They were like in the caves with the spiders, and they find out that Maeve is actually like a Vol queen, not just the Fae queen, and they found the gate. Stuff is happening, and I am a lot happier with it. And of course the part that I'm actually enjoying has nothing to do with Chaol. I think I've pretty much accepted that I just like was unable to enjoy this book as much as I should have been able to, just because I don't like this character. I think if you like Chaol, or even if you're like indifferent to him, you'll enjoy this book so much more. If this book refers to having sex as a ride one more time, I'm so uncomfortable. Okay, but all of these big reveals, which I feel like should have like a big emotional impact on the reader, I just am just like indifferent to them. Like the reveal about Maeve, like okay, I'm not really that surprised. The reveal about who in the castle had the Volgan, it's the youngest remaining princess, like okay, I don't really care. Like none of them have like an effect on me, and I feel like they should. How many characters are going to get bonded together? Why is this just continuing to be a thing? They got married.
Irene chuckled, but pinched his wrist, stepping out of his embrace.
Okay, so is Chaol the only person who didn't realize the woman Irene was talking about in her story was Aelin? Because I picked that up as soon as she said that story. Like, I thought that was obvious. Did you guys not know that when that happened either? Like, is this supposed to be a surprise? Like, the way she described it, that just sounded exactly like Selena. So I finished the book, and I liked the last 2 pages where we got to see Aelin. Okay, so I didn't hate it. There are parts about it that I liked, but I was so freaking annoyed for like the majority of this book that just like ruined my enjoyment of it. So I'm trying really hard to be objective about it, but I am so biased. I know I am so biased because I hate this character, and I just find him so annoying, and everything wrapped up like a little too perfectly for him. It just annoys me. So as far as a rating goes, like obviously take that with a grain of salt. Maybe like a 3-star, but honestly I don't want to give it a 3-star because I've rated a million other books 3 stars that I've enjoyed so much more than I enjoyed this one. This was more of like a 2-star read for me as far as enjoyment goes. Like thank God I had the audiobook. I never would have read this whole book on my own. The parts about the world that obviously are going to come up in the next book were interesting, and I liked that we got to follow Nesrin's point of view. That definitely helped me get through this book, so I wasn't with Chaol the whole time. And I actually like Irene, so that was also a nice change. But still, like overall impressions, even like my bias against Chaol aside, I still have so many issues with this book. For one thing, it's so freaking long for no reason. It was so slow. Nothing happens in the first 400 pages. That's 400 pages of nothing. Do you know how many books are 400 pages total. Like the end part of this book, the last like 100-200 pages were good and I enjoyed them, and if the entire book was like that, I think that would have overshadowed my dislike for Chaol, and I would have had to admit like, yeah, this book was still good. But it wasn't just my dislike for Chaol that made me not like this book, it was the 400 pages of nothing. So yeah, that was Tower of Dawn. I finally read it. I'm relieved that I have finally read this book because I've just been putting it off for a year now. I would be interested to know what you guys thought of this book down in the comments. Even if you loved this book, like, it's totally fine if we have different opinions on this. I know I'm like 100% biased in this case. And if you enjoyed it more than I did, I am happy for you. I wish I had enjoyed this. Like, I tried to go in with an open mind. I was hoping to like it, but honestly, the main things I felt while reading this book were annoyance and boredom. So that's gonna be it for this reading vlog. Thank you guys so much for watching. Go watch a different one of my videos where I'm not such a downer and complaining the entire time. Yeah, I'll just see you guys in another video very, very soon. Bye.